Joining us to break this down are the hosts of the Favorites podcast here on Action Network, Simon Hunter and Chad Millman. Simon, let's start with you. What's your reaction to the news and what it means for the Saints?
I love this move for the Saints. They're in a division that has no quarterback. You can call it a band-aid, and that's what it is, picking up Derek Carr here because it's great for their future. Hard to say. I mean, Derek Carr really has not done much in his career, but he's also a guy that's taken his team to the playoffs before, and we've seen that Raiders team. They were in a tough division, and they were always a little undermanned. He still somehow made it work. So going from that division now to an NFC where, there's maybe 5 good quarterbacks, and he's kind of fitting into that top 5 now of quarterbacks. I just see it's a big advantage for him in the South. I mean, a plus 135, I think there's still good value there to take them in the South. They just seem like they're the best team right now, Saints-wise, positioned where we saw last year, Carolina, they might have the most talent. They just don't have anything at that quarterback position. And to me, that's a big deal in a division where we've seen it time and time again, the best quarterback has won that division. That was Tom Brady. The man's retired. So in a division that has the Bucs that are kind of figuring out what they're going to do next, in Atlanta that they've already talked about, they're just looking for the future. If I'm going to put money down on a team right now, it's going to be the Saints team. I wouldn't do them Super Bowl futures because I just don't have that kind of faith in Derek Carr. I still think they're far, far behind that 49ers team, that Eagles team, and the Rams. I can't really get there yet with the Saints team in the Super Bowl futures. But I came for them into that division where I saw it last year. It really did come down to the wire, and they were bad throughout the season, that Saints team. So I know they're in cap hell. I don't know how they're giving this man $100 million guaranteed, but these guys make it work. They know to crunch the numbers. So just going off the basis of that and looking at this team, I like this move for the Saints. I like this for Derek Carr. He's going from a really tough AFC to a very weak NFC.
All right, Maria, I got to jump in here because this is as Jay Cutler might say, don't care. Doesn't matter. We're talking about a mediocre quarterback going to a less than mediocre team with fewer weapons at every position than he had at the team he was previously at, where he was very inconsistent to very mediocre. So I don't care that they're now at plus 135, plus 140 to win the division. They've dropped from about 50 to 1 to 35 to 1 to win the Super Bowl. This is why people hate the NFL media. We have taken a story that doesn't matter with a quarterback no one cares about, a team that was relevant for one season when they won the Super Bowl. Now they have a quarterback, a coach who everyone is excited because he has a relationship with Derek Carr because he was the coach when Carr was drafted by the Raiders. The guy lasted 4 games into the season with Carr as a rookie, and he has not done a great job as the Saints head coach with a very limited roster. Who cares? Bet the Panthers. Here's why. They could get Aaron Rodgers. They could get Jimmy G. If they get anyone close to Derek Carr's skill, as Simon said, a much better roster, much longer odds, much more interesting play. Give me the Panthers. I don't want to talk about Derek Carr again this year.
Okay, hold on now. I appreciate the advice, but here's why I think it does matter. It has a ripple effect across the league. So we know there are only so many quarterbacks available. And so, for instance, a team like the Jets, this is going to impact them heavily. Would you be willing to place a bet on the Jets, say, or anyone else, knowing Aaron Rodgers, for instance, may have a better chance to land with them?
So at this point, I would not. And Simon might feel differently, and we've talked about this in the podcast. I think the expectation that Aaron Rodgers or somebody else might end up at the Jets is already built into the price. They're about 14 to 1 in the AFC. If you look at that, the Jags are 15 to 1 to win the AFC. So I'd rather be betting on the Jags than the Jets. And the Jets are about 28 to 1 to win the Super Bowl. I think if they were at 30 to 1, I'd take it more seriously as a potential bet. But I do think the expectation they'll get a new quarterback is priced into the futures.
Simon, you agree?
Yeah, it's tough though because the Jets always let us down. So I don't even want to get sucked in where I just already feel like they're somehow going to blow this. But yeah, from all the film I've watched on Rodgers, I mean, so much we want to be negative about it. I think he still has it at his age. I think a lot of last year was the fact that he had no receivers He was usually throwing it to his running backs. It was just not a good spot to be in. It's a completely different world when he goes to the Jets. The Jets have a really good defense and they have really good weapons all around him. So again, I don't know the deal with Bryce Hall yet, but if he comes back and he's healthy at the running back position, he's probably gonna be the best running back he's ever played with in his career. And I know we can say Aaron Jones is incredible. That's because that man was running against usually a small box. Like the guys were usually dropping back in coverage against Aaron Rodgers. So I love the idea of betting on the Jets, but I'm with Chad. They've already built it in. Sure. I really wouldn't do it right now. I just wait and see because the man keeps talking in circles. He keeps saying, I have a decision. I'm going to make a decision. Make the decision. So Derek Carr got sick of waiting around. He made his move. The Jets, they're in a weird spot now. It's either Aaron or Jimmy, right? That's kind of the two quarterbacks we've been hearing a lot for them. So if it was me and I was a Jets fan, man, you better be hoping you get Rodgers because I think that would be a huge upgrade for a team that just hasn't had a quarterback, especially in my lifetime. We're going to say we won about Mark Sanchez getting those AFC championship games. I think we could all agree that was really their defense and Rex Ryan. So it's in a spot here of this Jets team. I think their fans are even on the edge of their seats waiting for this Rodgers news to drop where the odds are already built in. It seems like the books kind of know something here, or maybe they just don't want to put themselves in a bad position to get burned by these bettors. So to me, I wouldn't touch that Jets numbers as is.
Okay, everyone obviously waiting to see what Aaron Rodgers decides. Also keeping an eye on Jimmy G and some other names. But for any of the teams, Simon, that miss out on the free agents, obviously there's the draft and we're coming out of the combine. We're hearing a lot about Anthony Richardson and Bryce Young. What are the teams that you think will be their biggest suitors?
Yeah, it's interesting where it's just going to really be who's going to make the trade, right, with the Bears. The Bears have all the power right now. They want there to be a number one quarterback or just someone that teams are going to fall in love with. So me and Chad talked on our show, The Favorites, just about, we both have very different feelings on Anthony Richardson, but the biggest thing is that my whole thing was betting on this kid was just because once he goes to the combine, he's going to really show out what his skill set is, which is a freak athlete. The kid has by far the most athletic ability in this combine. And, the fact that he's 6'4.5", 240, and he's running under 4.5 40, he's a freak. Where you look at the other side, Bryce Young, which everyone was talking about, he went in there, he was 5'10", and yes, he weighed over 200 pounds, but we all know that's not natural weight. Like the man just put on weight gainers. So I think it kind of is, it's moving the needle a little bit. It felt like that season we talked about that Baker Mayfield went at 1 where no one really saw that coming. It kind of felt like it was Sam Darnold's draft. And then you kind of saw it the week leading up. You heard some noise. And was it going to be Josh Allen? No, he kind of dropped down the draft board. It ended up being Baker. I think we're in the kind of same scenario here where all these guys have major red flags, but it kind of makes sense now. Anthony Richardson is now the third highest person graded to be the first pick. We're seeing him as low as plus 400 now to be the first pick overall. I mean, Chad, we talked on our show, a month ago? We were giving out 40-1 to be the first pick. So that was just one of those, you took a position and it's moved a lot. It just, if it's not the Colts, if it's not Houston, I don't know. It's just interesting if it's not those two teams trade up into that spot just because they have the high pick, which I think all Bears fans and ownership want, which is, okay, we'll give up the number 1 pick. We're still going to get the best defender in this draft, which I think that's the key here for the Bears. They want draft capital. They want first-round picks, but they want to give up to one of those teams, either Houston or the Colts, a team that's right there at the top that really is desperate about a quarterback. I think it's going to be in the Colts. They just seem like the most desperate team. They've done 5 years of 5 veteran quarterbacks. I think ownership, everyone's just sick of it. They're willing to give the draft capital. So if I'm going to make a bet just on either quarterback being taken, if I'm just going to bet first team, first pick, right now my bet's the Colts.
Anything
Maria,
to add?
I'll sorry to interrupt you there.
Go ahead.
I am hoping and praying as a fan of train wrecks that somebody decides Anthony Richardson is their guy because he can jump high and he can run fast. Unless he's throwing 55 jump passes a game, who cares how high the guy can jump? The beauty of getting a quarterback in the draft is if you are smart, you have so much film to analyze. You draft a quarterback, you've seen what they've done. This is not a position that you draft on high ceiling. You want to draft on higher ceiling. You want to draft on higher ceiling, but you want to know what you're getting. You can't teach a guy to play quarterback in the NFL. Go ahead, draft Anthony Richardson. I hope someone does it. I think it's going to be a terrible first overall pick.
I think
Chad's the guy that took Tua over Herbert and Hurts because Tua did it in college, where Herbert and Hurts did it. And I'm telling you that you just can't look at it that way, brother.
No, 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 no.
Yeah, yes,
no.
yes, 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 yes.
No,
yes,
no,
yes, yes,
no,
yes.
no, no,
yeah,
no,
but
no.
Tua has shown that he has that IQ. And I think that's the point that you're trying to
Doesn't
make.
have the body.
It's not all about the freak athlete ability.
Yes, exactly. And by the way, the guy who I wanted more than anyone is the guy the Bears got, which was Justin Fields. And I think that's a great comp. That's a better comp than Herbert and Tua and Trevor Lawrence, who I think was that year as well, which is, to me, in that draft, you had Zach Wilson all of a sudden becoming the guy that everybody wanted. And it made no sense because he hadn't played that much and the competition hadn't been that good. Whereas Justin Fields, I think everyone believes has a really high ceiling, but you'd also seen him do so much at the highest level of competition. Anthony Richardson is a great athlete. Is he a quarterback that I'd want to invest my best pick in to hopefully be leading us for 10 years? No.
Age and maturity, I think, also has something to do with it. And a prime example would be what Brock Purdy did. I understand he had an amazing team around him, but still was able to come in, on an NFL offense and run things. But I think we got to get out of here. Guys, thanks so much for joining Green Dot Daily. Once again, it's Simon Hunter and Chad Millman of the Favorites Pod. You can catch them on AMP Tuesday and Thursday at 1:40 Eastern.